Hi, everyone. My name is Jenna Matlin, and I am a full-time tarot professional. I went full-time in 2012, but prior to that, I had been reading tarot for myself and others since about 1990. It's been a long time. So today's talk is going to be around me trying to talk you out of being a tarot reader. And that might be a bit counterintuitive because I am also a tarot business coach. And what I do all day long when I'm not reading for others or writing, I am helping other people obtain a self-employed job where you're serving people in this way. Now, that might seem counterintuitive because obviously there are many coaches out there of all kinds of stripes, not just tarot coaches, but life coaches, business coaches, who are going to tell you that you're going to make $4,000 within the first 2 weeks. You're going to make 6 figures within the first year, but they don't really tell you about the nitty-gritty of the situation. And I think a lot of people end up quite disillusioned, and they leave the field after putting a lot of time and effort into it. Now, you may know me. I have 2 books that you can get on Amazon, Have Tarot Will Travel and Have Tarot Will Party. Both of these are tarot or intuitive or mediumship based businesses where you're doing gig work to help bootstrap your business to the next level. So today I want to talk about why you shouldn't be a reader, the real no BS reasons that most tarot/life/wellness/business coaches who are peddling their $1,000 courses may not tell you. I'm going to lay it all out. So here it is. The first major issue that people come across as they are wanting to transition from maybe a muggle job, for lack of a better word, to a full-time tarot gig is that you're going to need to run the numbers, because there is going to be a gap between the salary that you're making over here and the money that you're going to be making as a business. I find it's often that people find themselves looking into being a tarot reader after they've already been fired or laid off or some other calamity has struck. And the problem is that in most cases, unless something really miraculous happens, you will not get to complete a replacement income fast enough to pay them bills. So here's what you're going to need. You're going to need to either save 6 months at least worth of living expenses, or you're going to need financial support from a family member, or you're going to work 2 full-time jobs a year. Also in that, you may take a business loan out to pay, to have living expenses while you create this transition. That is another option. But the fact of the matter is that you're going to have to make this gap somehow. And there's really, unfortunately, no easy way to do it. Some people are lucky in that they do have that family support that can support them in the short term. But I know and have seen plenty of tarot creatives make that leap without that help. But yes, you're going to have to save up. Maybe that means going back into the workaday world and getting a job, and maybe it is even a part-time job just to get to the absolute minimum. And then from there, you can kind of start growing your business. So during the first year, when you start making money, it is a mistake to instantly start spending the money that you're making from your brand new business into paying rent or bills. Really, the best and sustainable way to do it is to reinvest everything that you're making into building a platform, or better platform than you've had before. So if you've made $200 from, let's say, a party gig, that's not your electricity bill. That's going to pay for your business license. That's going to pay for someone to maybe help you with your website. That's going to pay for hiring someone to do some graphic design for you, or your business cards. If you don't have the money to not only invest in your living expenses during this time, but also into investing in a business, everything you make is going to be reinvested into the business within probably the first year or so is what I would recommend. And I think a lot of times when people come to tarot, as I've said, they've done it from a place that's burnt out, exhausted, tired, and they want this thing that they love doing to kind of immediately pull a turnaround and then get really just discombobulated and disappointed when it doesn't happen in the way that they would like it to. So that is something to keep in mind. And this is something that's not just, this is not just true for tarot reading. This is true for any business that you want to make. When you're leaving kind of that salaried or wage approach to your livelihood to a self-employed approach, the economics are very different, and you're going to need time as you make that transition. A lot of times I hear that people who are burnt out or tired from their regular, wage or salary-based job really want to be their own boss, and they think that maybe working for yourself may be easier, but it's not any easier. And in fact, if you think, oh, I'm just going to have my 2 children from the ages of 1 to 3 and then build my business on the side at home when they're not free, it rarely works that way. Regardless of like all the mommy bloggers who may be selling that dream to you, but they have 3 nannies to do it, which you don't see. It's just not possible. You're going to be working easily to do it right and to make the kind of income that you want to be making. You're going to be working like 60-hour work weeks in the initial first year or 2 for the launch. This is not something that you kind of just do on the side as you're doing these other things. And it's not something that you do that's going to be in any way, shape, or form easier than what you've got. Now, it does change the nature of the challenges, but it's definitely a challenge. And working for yourself is really hard. It's a big transition. You're working, like I said, you're working more time, especially in the beginning, than you would in a 9-to-5 job. You're not getting paid to hang out at the coffee maker and gossip in your office. You're not being paid to sit there behind the mini mart counter and play on your phone. The fact of the matter is, if you are not reading for others or selling a course, you're not making money. So any dead space is space where you're not being paid. It's a completely different way of monetizing your time that can actually be very stressful, very hard if you're not used to it. Again, when you own your own business, there's no safety net. If you run into trouble, nobody's gonna come save you. And if you think that some people are gonna help you, like your friends, they may say they will, but then they don't. I mean, the fact of the matter is, unless you've had your own business, it's really, really hard to understand the particular challenges that small business and entrepreneurial people face. So there's no safety net. If you fail, you fail. But if you succeed, you succeed. No one is here to help you if you run into a problem, unless you're lucky and you have people that you know that can come. Oftentimes when you run into the problem, you either need to figure it out yourself or hire somebody to help figure that out for you. It's not like you can just run down to the print shop or whatever department that might be connected to your department in your corporate setting and get the advice that you need for free. It just doesn't happen when you are working by yourself. Oh, no company parties. And I know that this sounds like, oh, that's such a dumb thing. But when you're working by yourself, it can get kind of lonely and isolating, that there are no opportunities to celebrate among peers, even if it's in a slightly socially awkward-ish way. That's gone. There's nobody or nothing coming in to break up the monotony of your days unless you yourself do it. The other thing too is you're not going to get a lot of feedback in your business unless it's usually negative, and I'll talk about that a little bit into this. There's no manager or department to call if you run into trouble, as I've said. There's no paid vacation days. So yeah, I mean, I definitely have friends that say, well, Jenna, you can take time off whenever you want. That's true, but I'm not being paid for those days. If I'm not working, I'm not making an income. So I can take those days off, but you really see the difference of me taking that time off in my, in my financials at the end of that time or end of that month. So I don't have any paid vacation days. I don't have any paid sick days. I do not have a pension. There is no company match to a 401k retirement plan for me. In the US, I do not have health insurance, and the insurance I can find is outrageously expensive. There's no one or nothing to automatically deduct my taxes for me at the end of every month. All of this you have to learn either to manage yourself or to deal with. So when it comes to vacation days, I have a savings that when I have a bumper crop of a month and I'm doing really well, that's my savings I go to, that I extend when I have a vacation day. If I have a sick day, sometimes that's a loss you cannot get back, especially when you are in the work that we do, where you're really selling time as much as you are selling your services, because maybe you've only got 20 hours worth of reading hours inside of you. And if, one full day is gone, that's not a day you'll ever get back in terms of your income. Also, it's sometimes really hard to get clients to reschedule. Sometimes there's this, oh, it's just not meant to be, and then you've lost them. So there's a lot of pressure to keep working and working and working, even more so when you're self-employed than necessarily, at least in a kind of corporate role position. And I'm sure there are plenty of scenarios I'm not thinking of. I'm sure you might be saying there going, well, that's not what I deal with. And that may be the case. I'm just really talking from a very broad brush here. So when it comes to retirement, you're on the hook for everything. There's no company match. Nobody's helping you out there. As a small business owner, you need to learn how to build basically your own 401k, and you have to learn how to invest in your 401k. No one's going to sit down and explain that to you through work. Additionally, with your health insurance, if you're not getting it through a family member in the US, you have to go onto the open market. And the open market is a very strange and scary place. So it can be very, very expensive, and prohibitively so if those of you have a significant pre-existing condition that needs a lot of care and medication. I would look at and run the numbers of what it would cost for you to pay for your own health insurance before you even move into this direction. Taxes, you're going to have to pull out your taxes yourself. So with self-employed people, we actually pay double the tax that you do, because you as a wage owner, you pay half the federal income, and then your company pays the other half. But if you're self-employed, you actually pay at a higher tax rate. I know, it's another reason that, this is another reason why I'm trying to talk you out of being a reader. It's a lot. So you do have that piece. You're paying almost twice as much. You're also putting into your Social Security, but you have to deduct it every month out of your own wages, and you have to put it aside. You have to pay in advance every quarter, but you're doing it yourself. So if you forget or you didn't run the numbers, the IRS is going to come for you. There's no intermediary to fix that and make that better for you, unfortunately. So as you see, there's a lot of bandwidth of other moving parts that oftentimes when we want to go pro or be a pro reader, we may not be aware of that. There's all these other barriers to making this dream happen for ourselves. Let's see here. The other big risk that I see people, my mentees, my coachees really struggle with is a variable income month to month. You don't know what you're going to be making every month. You just don't. You maybe have a ballpark or kind of like a reasonable figure, but if you're the type of person who stresses out, if you're the type of person who cannot save, if you're the type of person that has a hot mess of a financial life, then this may not be for you, because to have a variable income means you have to be more than average responsible for that rainy day, for that emergency, because you don't know what you're going to make next month. And for some people, that's such an anxiety producing thing that alone is the reason why they may not pursue being an entrepreneur. So that's definitely something I recommend if you are thinking about moving into this area. Really take a hard stock and hard inventory with your relationship to money, your relationship to debt, your relationship to your retirement, and be honest with yourself. If you find that having kind of that company job, or that job where there's at least that kind of managed role for you, then that is something you need to consider, because to work for somebody else means that they are basically handling the risk on your behalf. You go in, you know what your hours are going to be for the most part, and then you know what you're going to make for the most part. So the risk is low, but the freedom is also low. You do what they tell you to do. You wear what they tell you to wear. You're available when they tell you to be available. So that's the trade-off. Whereas to be in the work that I'm doing, you have maximum freedom. Do whatever you want, but also maximum risk. And that in itself has its own parameters in terms of how we act. So the thing about also like coming back to like rebuilding that income for yourself from what you've made before or making more, you have to prepare to work 60-hour work weeks at least for the first couple of years in the attempt to replace your income. And it typically takes the average entrepreneur, not only in our industry, but in other people's industry, 2 to 5 years to replace income. I want to repeat that. 2 to 5 years. It takes a while. If you move into having your own tarot business, you got to be in it for the long haul. And you're in the long haul because you love it. But for all the reasons and more is why I'm telling you that if you don't love it and you're not prepared to take these kind of risks, you shouldn't be a reader, at least not a full-time reader. So if you can't, subsist on savings for the first 6 months, and then for the next year and a half, basically, hopefully just meet your living expenses while you're reinvesting everything else that you're making into your business as you're working like crazy, that may not be the road for you, because that's what it really requires. So I want to come back to taking risks. So we talked about that, like, oh, well, I don't know what I'm going to make this month. Like, what am I going to do? Oh my God, I'm freaking out, right? To be an entrepreneur of any stripe is to have a greater comfort with risk taking. If you feel you need the sure bet, you need all 50 steps laid out in front of you in precise detail and prediction, this is not going to be the path for you. To be an entrepreneur means a high tolerance for risk, a high tolerance for ambiguity, a natural insatiable curiosity, a flexible intelligence where as new technology is coming, as new things come, you stay up to date with it, you learn new things to go with the changing of the world. You have to stay relevant in that way. So if you need like the sure deal, this is not it. If you do not take risks unless you know it's a sure deal, this is not for you. If you are not curious, this is not for you. And all of this, I want to be clear that all of this is kind of outside of you as tarot reader, you may be a beautiful tarot reader, amazing tarot reader, and everybody tells you, hey, Celeste, you should definitely be reading full time. Like, and that may be true in terms of your skill sets over here, but you also have to have a business, business mindset, an entrepreneurial mindset. And it's only when you have the both of these does this work long term, I mean. So if you've got one and not the other, it's not going to work. And I see the opposite of that too, especially right now as I'm recording. It is in the fall of 2020. We are in the midst of a pandemic, and I am seeing hordes of people jumping in and becoming tarot readers or mediums or pet readers who were previously in other careers that were not as pandemic proof as our career is. But the thing is if you don't have that strong reading acumen to go along with the strong business acumen, it's not going to work. You will burn out, or people will see that you're not a strong reader and they won't come back. You really need to have both. And I have to be honest, a good 85% of the people I've known over the years that have gone full-time pro are not here anymore. This is tough. This is tough work. It's not easy. And I think on the outside of it, looking in, you're like, wow, you just like sit at home and you just like fling some cards and you just give some people advice, then you go get a latte or whatever, and then maybe some yoga, get a massage, and then come back. Like, you're totally free. You can do whatever you want. But that is not at all. That's not at all how this works. It is a tough job. It demands a high broadband, a high, what is it? Emotional bandwidth. That's it, not broadband. It's a high emotional bandwidth. You're dealing with people in emergencies all the time. You're dealing with people that are projecting their own wants, needs, desires, and fears onto you and the cards. It's a lot of work to deal with the public, as many of you know, but to work in such an intimate way like this with the public, on top of having to learn to be your own business person, it's a lot. And a lot of people go into this not realizing all these moving parts. Number one, because I think there's a lot of coaches out there, and I'm not naming names, but we all know the over $1,000 courses, making so much money, and all these dreams that they want to sell you. They never really open up the hood and let you see the machinations happening below. I can guarantee you without a shadow of doubt that a lot of these so-called like lifestyle entrepreneurs who are saying that they're only working a couple hours, they're either outsourcing that to anybody in the Philippines or India, like to do a lot of the like admin work, or they're outright lying to you. You cannot build a business with that kind of mindset. It just doesn't work. And in fact, if you want to get into this business because you see yourself on the beach in Thailand and you think that you could just read tarot for a couple hours and take care of yourself, that's not the right motivation anyways. I really feel that people that really are the best in business are not coming from this like me perspective, like, well, I want this kind of lifestyle and this looks like the most likely thing to make it happen, so I'm going to do that. That's actually not where where we see a lot of success lies. Success lies in, okay, I have X like skill sets that I'm really, really good at. How can I serve the world? Who will pay me to solve their problem? That to be a successful entrepreneur and successful reader, you have to approach it from, how can I be of service to you? What will you pay me to help you with? And then we go from there. But if it's like, well, I want this lifestyle and then I'm going to figure out everything else around this lifestyle, I'm telling you, that's not the metrics for success in this business or any business. So a couple other things I wanted to talk about. Flexible intelligence, I talked about that a little bit before. You have to learn many new things. You will have to learn new technology. You will have to keep up with that technology because it will change. You will have to relearn things and new things over and over again because there's nobody but you. And the entrepreneurs that I think are the most successful are the ones who figure it out and learn as much as they can themselves before they're going to hire it off to somebody else. So you have to remain flexible and open to change, growth, and new ideas. And if you don't, your work will suffer over time. So another thing a lot of people say is like, well, but you don't have a boss. Like, you know, like my boss is a jerk. I hate him. He sucks. You don't have to deal with that anymore. And my response is, you're right. I don't have a boss, but I have like thousands of bosses. And I see those bosses every day in session. Every one of my clients is my boss because solving their problems and helping them and making them better after having been with me is the goal. Them dictating how they want the session to go, like, and that doesn't mean I'm doing whatever they say, but they're definitely coming into the session with a directive. And that directive is a directive that I, to the best of my ability, am going to follow within my own ethical and moral code. So a lot of people say, well, Jenna, you know, you don't have to do an annual review anymore. Like, great, they suck. And my response is, no, I can get an annual review any moment of the time, whenever anyone is angry with me on Yelp or Google or Facebook page, anywhere where there's a review. Anybody can loudly denounce my shortcomings as a reader and as a human being for not just HR to see, but for the whole planet to see. So it's a lot of pressure. It is an incredibly intense amount of pressure. And every time I get a notification that I got a review from somewhere come into my inbox, my heart literally drops into my stomach and I'm like, was it a good review? Was it a bad review? Oh my God, this could ruin my day, you know, because it's not even just about the review itself in terms of, you know, somebody disparaging you or criticizing you, but the very fact that that review can mean thousands and thousands of dollars of lost income. Because other people will read that review, and people do have a negativity bias, so they'll read that review and you will drop income because of it. Like there's high stakes to all of this in a way that doesn't exactly translate to someone that has a wage earning job. So yeah, for any infraction, complaint, or issue, if they want to leave a review and tell the world how much you suck, what are you going to do? There's not much you can do about it, but it is definitely a motivation to keep your people happy. As a pro reader or any kind of service-based industry, you can pretty much say goodbye to evenings and weekends if you want to launch big. You have to be available for when the 9-to-5 people are free. And that is their evenings and weekends. And while that can be nice because you can go grocery shopping, you can hit up Target, you can do whatever you want, and there's like nobody in the building, you're not having to deal with any traffic. The flip side of that is having to really make some hard decisions around your family life / social life and your business. And if you're not careful, you will find that you are unintentionally isolating yourself because you're working so many evenings and weekends that you're not able to connect with the people that love you the most. And that's hard. That's something else to consider. So besides that, the work to be a reader can be extremely isolating and very lonely. Most likely, none of your friends are doing what you're doing. Most likely, the other readers that you know are also frantic and busy and building their own business. You have that. So oftentimes you're not really talking to anybody else all day long unless you're dealing with and working with a client. So if you are not a self-starter, if you are not a good independent worker, if you find that you need to be around people and in teams, this work is not for you. Because the work that we do is managing clients who often are coming to us with significant anxiety and an emotional pain, if we don't take good care of ourselves, this can lead to compassion fatigue. And there's nobody on your team that's going to tap you out and say, hey, I'm noticing a change in you. You really need to take some time off. So self-awareness is really important. Unlike therapists or even some life coaching styles, us readers, we do not have a unified body of a professional organization, as much as I wish I was with all my heart. I really, really do. That can help to mitigate the challenges of going it alone. And few people in your life will understand what you're going through. And often you've not had the training and supervision, unlike therapists, to help you to make sure that you're taking care of yourself as you take care of others. So that's basically my big long list of why you shouldn't be a reader. And I mean that like in a kind way, but honestly, like that, this is the deal. This is what's below the hood. This is the real stuff that you need to consider and deeply think about before you move into this business. My role as a business coach for esoterica, let's say, I don't take everybody who wants me as their coach. I probably tell 60% of the people that talk to me that they need to reconsider this or look at this more deeply, because I can tell that they just they haven't done some of this deeper thinking, and I don't want to take anyone's money unless I know that they're ready to go on a journey with me. And if you are ready, if you've thought about these financial aspects, if you've thought about these emotional aspects, if you've thought about your own relationship to anxiety and risk taking, and you're ready to move forward, and you're like, listen, I know all of this, and I still feel called to serve the world in this way. Let's do it. Because doing what I do, despite this like list I just wrote of all these things meant to scare you off, if you still feel called, then yeah, because for me, all of these things were true for me. It's why I know them. That's why I'm telling them. But also having my own business and reading tarot for others has greatly shaped the rest of my life and the course of my life. And I'm a better person for it. It saved me in many ways. And the challenges that I listed here, I'm uniquely suited to handle well, which I didn't really know in the beginning, but I'm really comfortable with risk a lot of the time. I'm very comfortable with marketing myself, and I don't feel it's smarmy. I feel it's more like, this is who I am, this is what I have to offer, and if I can help you solve a problem, here I am. It's that easy. I also am really very much a self-starter. I'm an independent worker. I was a kid that I didn't actually do well in teams. I've always done best as a solo worker rather than teamwork. And I've been known my whole life as the first the girl, now the woman that people come to when they feel lost and they need some advice. I've always been this person. So for me to become a pro tarot reader meant to step into the most authentic aspect of myself on every level, the intuitive, the psychic, the intuitive, the way I like to relate to people, the way I like to have a lot of freedom and I can manage risk, the way I've actually gotten excited and have learned so much around my own financial literacy that I never would have before. For me, this was the perfect storm. And I want it to be the perfect storm for you. And if this isn't the perfect storm for you, I want you to find your perfect storm somewhere else, because it's out there. We all have a place where we can belong. We all have a call to serve the world in some way. But it can look different for different people, and that's okay. So that is my nitty gritty, no BS guide to why you shouldn't be a tarot reader. If some of this struck a nerve or you were feeling it, like, hit the comments below. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Okay, once again, my name is Jenna Matlin, and yeah, you can find me here. You can find me on Instagram, Facebook. You can go to my website, which is jennamatlin.com. Take it easy, my friends. Bye-bye.